At 7:14 a.m., just north of the Caribbean Basin, the USS Gravely was gliding through glass-flat waters on a routine maritime security patrol. The kind of patrol every sailor knows by heart. Steady speed, clean horizon, nothing but blue in every direction. But inside the Combat Information Center, the quiet didn't last. A radar operator leaned forward, tapped his screen twice, and said the words no crew ever ignores. New surface contact. No AIS. No flag. The room shifted instantly. The radar return was faint at first. Slow-moving, metallic, and deliberately quiet. Hugging a commercial shipping lane, but not behaving like anything commercial. The Gravely's SPY-1D radar refined the track within seconds. The contact's heading didn't match fishing patterns, cargo routes, or coastal traffic. It matched something else entirely. A surveillance run. The CIC tagged it as Track Sierra 18. Within minutes, long-range cameras zoomed in. What had looked like a harmless small vessel from radar silhouette now revealed a forest of antennas on a compact hull. Dish arrays, vertical masts, and a distinct cylindrical housing used on E-lint collection platforms. The ship was Venezuelan. Not a patrol boat, not a fishing vessel, a spy ship. The kind that sails without talking and listens to everything. The officer of the deck issued the first hail on open channel. Unidentified Venezuelan vessel, this is United States Navy warship. You are operating without identification in international waters. State your intentions. Silence. Only the hum of electronics replied. No course change, no speed reduction. Just the same slow creep on a straight line toward the U.S. patrol route. The Gravely elevated posture. No weapons uncovered, but every sensor sharpened. The SLQ-32 electronic warfare suite began soaking up emissions. Every radar sweep, every transmission burst, every signature coming off the Venezuelan antennas. If the spy ship wanted to listen, the U.S. Navy would listen harder. From the bridge wing, watchstanders watched the vessel push through the water with a suspiciously steady wake, too controlled for a neutral transit. One sailor muttered under his breath, "They're not drifting, they're hunting." 5 minutes later, the spy ship made its first bold move. It increased speed, slowly at first, then more decisively. 12 knots, 15, 17. A direct intercept course. Not fast enough to threaten physically, but fast enough to force a confrontation. The second U.S. hail went out. This time in Spanish, crisp and clear. Still no answer. Inside the CIC, the air shifted. Not panic, never panic, but a tightening focus. The crew began logging every bearing, every engine RPM shift, every electronic emission. A real-time intelligence package was building itself second by second. If Venezuela wanted to play games, the U.S. Navy would turn it into data. Then came the moment that changed everything. The spy ship abruptly shifted 14 degrees starboard, pointed directly at the USS Gravely. CPA, 2.4 nautical miles and shrinking. The OOD didn't raise his voice, didn't hesitate. Just one order: go active. In an instant, the destroyer's posture transformed. Radar modes shifted. Cameras tightened focus. The ship's 5-inch gun rotated. Subtle, controlled, but unmistakable. A Seahawk helicopter on deck was placed on a 3-minute alert status. Rotors pinned, systems warming. Nobody on the American side wanted escalation. But nobody would tolerate being boxed in by a spy ship pretending to be invisible. On the Venezuelan deck, Silhouettes moved, too calm, too deliberate. One crouched beside the forward antenna housing, adjusting something. Another lifted a device that looked a lot like a handheld receiver. The Gravely's captain stepped onto the bridge and stared at the screen. "They're collecting on us," he said quietly. "And they think we're just going to watch." He wasn't wrong. But what Venezuela didn't know, what they were seconds away from discovering, is that the US Navy was recording every move, every waveform, every mistake. And in this game, the side that stays silent the longest isn't the one in control. It's the one about to learn a very expensive lesson. The change was subtle at first, barely noticeable to anyone except a trained CIC watchstander. The Venezuelan spy ship's radar signature shifted, not in strength, but in rhythm. Instead of wide, passive sweeps, the antennas began cycling faster, narrower, more focused. They weren't observing anymore. They were targeting. Inside the Combat Information Center of the USS Gravely, the electronic warfare officer leaned closer to his console. "Spy ship just jumped to selective scan mode," he said. "That's intentional collection. They want our radar profile." The captain didn't react outwardly. He didn't need to. Everyone in that room felt the weight of the moment. This wasn't simply a vessel behaving erratically. This was a state-sponsored intelligence platform trying to sniff the electronic heartbeat of a US destroyer. And it was coming closer. CPA dropped to 1.9 nautical miles. The OOD issued the next order. Launch Seahawk, non-lethal posture. Within seconds, the ship transformed. The flight deck crew rushed into motion, unfolding blades, locking tie-downs, powering systems. The MH-60R Seahawk roared awake, its rotors pushing sea mist across the deck. Every sailor within earshot knew what this meant. When the Navy doesn't want to escalate, it sends a helicopter. To watch. To record. To apply pressure that no radar sweep can ignore. The Seahawk lifted off, banking left, slicing low across the water with the confidence of an aircraft that knows the battlefield belongs to it. The Venezuelan spy ship's crew looked up as the helicopter approached, half shielding their eyes, half pretending not to care. But they cared. From 300 feet, the Seahawk pulsed a green laser across the spy ship's bridge windows. Non-lethal, non-aggressive, but unmistakably a message. "We see you. Back off." Inside the Venezuelan vessel, movement intensified. The camera operator aboard the Seahawk zoomed in. Two men rushed to the forward antenna array, one carrying what looked like a portable signal amplifier. Another adjusted a parabolic dish, angling it directly toward the American helicopter. "That's not surveillance," the sensor operator muttered, "that's harvesting." The SLQ-32 aboard Gravely lit up with new activity. Frequency hopping, signal probing, electronic fingerprints broadcasting louder than the spy ship probably intended. Their mistake was simple. To collect better, they had to transmit stronger. And the US Navy was quietly recording every watt of it. Back on the bridge, the captain watched the spy ship alter course again, this time cutting across the destroyer's projected path in a way that skirted dangerously close to a navigational threat. "Unsafe maneuver," the OOD called out. "CPA now 1.3 and decreasing." On the ocean, a mile feels like a handshake. On a collision vector, it feels like a countdown. The Gravely issued a final hail, firm, direct, undeniably serious. "Venezuelan vessel, your actions are unsafe and unprofessional. Alter course immediately." Still nothing. The spy ship held its line, closing the distance, antennas buzzing like an insect diving at a predator 10 times its size. If they wanted to test American restraint, they were seconds from discovering its limits. The Seahawk banked tightly overhead, kicking spray off the waves as it passed. Its forward FLIR camera tracked every sailor on the Venezuelan deck, capturing footage that would later become evidence. Time-stamped, geolocated, undeniable. The captain spoke quietly, almost to himself. They're trying to provoke a reaction, or gather one. A new spike hit the EW console. A sudden, sharp burst of directed RF energy brushing across the destroyer's sensors. An electronic poke, a red line. That's it, the EWO said. They just painted us. Not a weapon lock, not fire control, but close enough to break the rules of professional conduct at sea. The captain turned, expression unchanged. Mark it, log it, maintain posture. No panic, no escalation, just calm, calculated precision. The Venezuelan spy ship had no idea the U.S. Navy now had its full electronic signature, from low-frequency sweeps to high-gain directionals. Every mistake they made was being cataloged in real time. But the moment that truly sealed their fate came next. A figure on the Venezuelan bow lifted a handheld device directly at the Seahawk. A long antenna, a trigger grip, something not meant for navigation. The sensor operator aboard the helicopter zoomed in, eyes widening. Sir, they're pointing something at us." And the captain's reply was simple, cold, measured. "Then we finish this our way." The instant the handheld device appeared on the Venezuelan bow, the atmosphere aboard the USS Gravely shifted. Not panic, not fear, something colder, certainty. The kind sailors recognize when the line between annoying and dangerous finally snaps. The Seahawk's sensor operator kept the camera locked on the device. "Range to target, 0.8 nautical miles," he called out. "That's well inside effective jamming distance." The captain didn't need more. He had all the authority he required. EWO, full countermeasures, non-lethal. Now. Inside the CIC, the electronic warfare officer flipped a guarded switch. The SLQ-32 arrays lit up, invisible to the naked eye but unmistakable in the electromagnetic spectrum. A soft hum vibrated through the steel hull as the system pushed raw electronic power into the air. To the Venezuelan spy ship, it hit like a hammer. Their antennas jerked, dish servos spasmed, and the handheld device the sailor was aiming suddenly went limp. Screen washed out, signal crushed. On camera, the man shook the device in confusion, smacking it with his palm like a broken radio. He had no idea the Gravely had just vaporized his signal without firing a single round. But the U.S. wasn't finished. The Seahawk dropped to 180 feet, low enough to make the Venezuelan crew feel its presence, but high enough to stay non-threatening. Its green laser pulsed brighter, steadier, painting across the spy ship's bridge windows. This time, the Venezuelan helmsman reacted. The ship visibly shuddered as its engines throttled down. Speed fell from 16 knots to 14, then 11. The aggressive intercept was dying in front of everyone's eyes. The captain of the Gravely folded his arms, watching the radar as the spy ship slowed. "Log their retreat," he said calmly. "That's their answer." But the real blow, the one Venezuela never expected, was happening quietly behind the scenes. For the past 27 minutes, the U.S. Navy had been harvesting every electronic whisper coming off the spy ship. Frequency spread, modulation pattern, antenna gain, decryption vulnerabilities, radar profile at multiple angles, comms discipline and weak points. In intelligence terms, Venezuela had just gifted the U.S. its entire surveillance playbook. And now they were retreating. The spy ship finally broke its silence with a hesitant, static-filled transmission. United States naval vessel, we are conducting routine coastal duties. On the Gravely, nobody even smirked. The OOD responded with the diplomatic equivalent of a steel backhand. Venezuelan vessel, your unsafe maneuvers have been recorded and reported. Maintain distance. The message wasn't aggressive. It didn't need to be. The tone carried the weight of a navy that had already won. The spy ship turned another 7 degrees to port. Slow, embarrassed, deliberate. Their antennas spun down to passive mode. The handheld device was placed on deck, unused, its circuits still scrambled from U.S. countermeasures. Meanwhile, the Seahawk completed one final orbit, filming all of it. The change in heading, the reduction in speed, the crew stepping back from the forward array, the slow, humiliating retreat. Every second was evidence. Every frame was leverage. By 7:49 a.m., the Venezuelan spy ship was 5 nautical miles off the Gravely's starboard quarter. Still visible, but no longer a threat. No longer curious, no longer bold. Just another hull slipping away. The captain finally exhaled, not relief, but conclusion. They wanted a reaction, he said quietly. They got one. Just not the one they thought. The Seahawk returned to deck, rotors slowing. The crew stepped out, helmets off, each knowing they had just participated in one of the cleanest de-escalations possible. Dominance without escalation. No missiles fired, no warning shots, no collisions. Just U.S. Navy professionalism turning Venezuelan aggression into intelligence gold. And for Venezuela, the big mistake was now obvious. They thought they were tracking an American warship. But the entire time, the American warship was tracking them.